So we discussed yesterday that there is one standards on auditing on this audit planning, SJ 300, planning and audit of So good morning friends. Yesterday we started chapter number 2, audit strategy, audit planning and audit program, and we discussed why planning on audit is necessary and what are its benefits. As we discussed yesterday, there is one standards on auditing on planning and audit, SCA 300, which says that auditor has to plan his audit. That means planning of the audit is the responsibility of the auditor. So SCA 300 prescribes some guidelines on this planning of audit of financial statements. And we also discussed in SCA 200 there are two objectives for an auditor. What are the two objectives? One is to obtain a reasonable assurance on the financial statements, and the second one is to report on those financial informations. And if we come to this discussion of audit planning and auditing is necessary to carry out the audit in effectively and timely manner, and at the same time you have to comply with the professional standards. What do you mean by professional standards? Means your standards on auditing itself, and also generally accepted auditing principles. Generally accepted auditing principles. And we also discussed what are the benefits of planning. Suppose if you concentrate on important words, first advantage says that you can devote appropriate attention on important areas of audit. Suppose if your scope says that you have to audit the entire financial information, then as a part of your planning, you should decide initially what are the important areas, what are the material areas for my verification. Yesterday we discussed one example. Suppose my company has not started its commercial operations. There is no turnover at present. We are in construction stage. When we are in construction stage, what expenditure is important for verification? What are the important areas of expenditure for verification? For example, if you compare between capital expenditure, revenue expenditure, which expenditure is the important area? Capital expenditure, because you have not started your operation set, revenue expenditure will be minimal. The staff who will be at the site, those salaries and their petty expenses. But the capital expenditure is the important area. So when you are planning an audit, first you have to understand that entity and its environment. Based on that, you should jot down, you should point out down during my planning phase what are the important areas of the audit. So this is one benefit from the planning, so that you can concentrate on that important areas. Next one, identify, resolve potential problems on a timely basis. Suppose when you go on doing the audit, or because through previous audit experience, if you have seen any areas which are not properly managed by the company, properly maintained by the company, then during this audit I can put it in my planning paper that there are certain problems which I have to concentrate and which are to be resolved on timely basis. So that's one part. And also properly organize, manage the audit engagement so that it is performed in effective, efficient manner. This is the general benefit. See, simply people say that if you plan your work, it will be completed properly simply. So same way, the same is applicable even for your auditing. You can complete in effective, efficient and timely manner. And also selection of engagement team members as per capabilities and also as per the anticipated risks, and proper assignment of work is possible. During the planning phase itself, I have to divide the work between my team members based on their competence, capabilities, experiences, and all this, so that I can properly guide them, supervise them, how they are performing and all. So that is possible. So this is one benefit from the planning, and also facilitating direction, supervision of the engagement team members and the review of their work. This is what we discussed. If you plan your audit and assign the works to independent team members, that you have to take care of the expenditure, Mr. B you have to take care of the revenue part, Mr. C you have to take care of the fixed asset, Mr. D you have to take care of the liabilities part, and Mr. E you have to take care of the physical verification of stationary items, inventory, and all those areas. In such a way, based on their capabilities, if I divide the work, it is possible for me whether these people are properly following that plan or not, and also I am able to direct them, supervise them towards the achievement of my basic objectives. What are my basic objectives? Reasonable assurance and report. We should not forget those basic objectives. Those are the endpoints for your work. So we have to see whether these team members are working according to the plan given by the auditor or not. So that you can supervise. Suppose if they are not working as per the plan, you can direct them towards that. Okay, you can change the plan. That is also possible. Next, and finally, assisting where applicable in coordination of work done by others such as experts. As I told you, auditor is not expert in all fields. At some places, you need the support of experts' opinion. Experts' opinion. In which case, you have to plan those things in advance. Suppose for verification of the closing stock, you need the support of an expert, or for verification of the work in progress, or to certify the figure of work in progress, if you need the support of an expert, that you have to put in your planning itself. You can't say in the last minute, sir, before issuing the audit report, sir, I need the expert opinion for work in progress. In that last minute, it is not possible for the bringing the expert, because the expert will take his own time for evaluation of the so-called item subject matter. So, suppose if there is an involvement of expert, that also you have to plan in advance. Plan in advance. I am using this word everywhere. Plan in advance. Okay. So these are the benefits from the planning. So that's why Institute says planning and audit of financial statements helps an auditor to complete the audit in timely manner, efficiently and effectively. So these are the advantages. Just a recapitulation what we discussed in the yesterday's class. Sorry. Nature of audit planning. Whether it's a continuous process or an iterative process, or it's a one-time process. We discussed this point yesterday. Audit is not a one-time process. It's a continuous and iterative. Iterative means repeating a number of times. Continuous. And it's a rather continuous and iterative process. You will get to come and to discuss type of questions on this topic. Simply the question will come. Planning is a continuous iterative process. Discuss. Give your comments. In such a way you will get the question. Then this is the topic. So planning is not a discrete independent phase of an audit. It's a continuous and iterative process. So when it begins and when it ends. Begins after the completion of the previous audit and continues until the completion of the current audit engagement. So what is the beginning point? Completion of the previous audit. And what is the ending point? Completion of the current audit. Sir, the organization which I am auditing, this is the first year of that organization. There is no previous audit that has been done for this organization. Then your planning exercise starts from today itself and it continues till the completion of this current engagement. Another thing, sir, previous audit was not done by me. It was done by some other chartered accountant. In which case, first you have to see what is the scope of your work. Suppose the management says sir, you have to verify the work done by the previous auditor also. Then you have to be very, very clear. In case of companies, that's not possible because the audit has been done and all the required formalities has been completed, including filing to the register of companies. In which case it is not possible for me to go back and evaluate the work done by the previous chartered accountant. So in such a case, I will start my audit from the verification of opening balances. Verification of opening balances. Then also you have to plan your work. So then your planning start from the verification of opening balances. Okay. Next point. There are few more matters which an auditor has to consider before commencing his audit. So this is also a come and discuss type questions which you may get in examinations. This small discussion is there in your institute material, which says planning need to consider prior to auditor's identification assessment of risks of material misstatements few matters. That means before going to evaluate the entity and its environment, you have to keep in mind few matters. What is that one? First one, it says analytical procedures. Are there any analytical procedures that I have to apply during risk assessment procedures? Sir, two words you have used. Analytical procedures, risk assessment procedures. Let us understand what you mean by risk assessment procedures. If you come down, I have given a small note at the bottom. What do you mean by risk assessment procedures? What's important? These are audit procedures. Simply your audit techniques and procedures. Point number one. What you are going to do with that? Performed. Why? To obtain understanding of entity, environment, including intercontrol system, and identify, assess risks, fraud or error. Let us see the words. These are audit procedures and which you are going to use for obtaining understanding of this entity and its environment, including its internal control system. So nothing but your audit techniques which you are going to use to understand the entity and its business operations, and also whatever the procedures you use for identifying the frauds and misstatements in that organization's subject matter. All these will come under risk assessment procedures. Sir, can you give an example for this? Say for example, you have gone to that entity and you want to see the inter-control system. Say for example, capital expenditure. In case of capital expenditure, what are the policies? What is the discipline? What are the controls established by the management? Okay. Suppose if the controls are strong that a capital expenditure, first it is to be budgeted and this budget is to be approved by the board of directors, and any actual expenditure from this budget again is to be approved by the designated authority from the board of directors, and for every purchase of the capital expenditure you should obtain minimum 3 quotations. Minimum 3 quotation. It is not that you liked one machine, you bought it. See, in the outside world also, as an intercontrol principle, minimum 3 vendors you have to consult for this equipment. Suppose if there is only one vendor for this equipment, the policy can't be implemented. Suppose I have to purchase computers for my organization, in which case I have to find 3 vendors, 3 quotations, and you have to prepare a comparative statement. Vendor number 1 is ready to supply the computer set, so much cost. Vendor number 2 is ready to supply the computer set, so much cost, and vendor number 3 is ready to supply at that much cost. Next criteria: first vendor is ready to supply within 10 days, second vendor is ready to supply within 1 month, third vendor is ready to supply within 6 months. First vendor is a new vendor into the market, second vendor is having 5 years of experience, third vendor is having experience in the market of 10 years. Now, just based on the cost you can't decide now. You have to see their market standing. Suppose he is a new vendor, you will give the advance if he runs away. So, certain other factors also to be considered before purchasing the capital expenditure or anything, okay, which are important. So, in this way, the organization having a policy. So, they prescribed clearly this is how we purchase the capital expenditure. We just don't go to the market and give a check or make a Paytm payment or a phone pay payment and get the material. So this is the policy we have, and you have observed that they are complying with this. Suppose there is a control and the control is properly implemented by the management, okay, and also you have seen how this accounting is happening in that organization. Even they are having accounting policies too, accounting standards. After observing all this, you can come to a conclusion whether I have to do 100% audit or I can go by a sampling mode. Suppose if the control system is strong, you can concentrate on sampling techniques. If the control system is weak, obviously you have to resort to either 100% checking or large extent of checking. So these are called risk assessment procedures. Okay. Next, another word. What did I said? Risk assessment procedures are audit procedures performed to obtain understanding of the entity and its environment, including intercontrol system. And finally, you will come to this analytical procedures. Risk assessment procedures are general ones, audit procedures. In this audit procedures, there are certain other techniques, and out of those techniques, the first one is analytical procedures. Analytical procedures are nothing but ratio analysis, trend analysis. Ratio analysis and trend analysis. What is this ratio analysis and trend analysis? I think we already discussed in one of the classes. You have gone for an audit, okay, and first year the turnover of the company is 5 crores and profit is 1 crore. Second year or the second month, the turnover of the company is 10 crores and they prepared a monthly profit loss account, and the profit of that company by the end of the second month is 5 crores. First month 2 crore and the profit is 1 crore, and the second month 10 crore and the profit is 5 crore. So we can suspect some mismatch between the first month and second. Of course, the turnovers are cumulative, the profits are also cumulative. Okay, so you can have a doubt that, sir, whether the next second month 10 crores includes the first month 2 crores also or not. Yes, I am saying this is cumulative turnover. I am saying that's why I am saying by the end of the second month. So you can say that why this much of drastic increase in the profit. So 1 by 2 and 5 by 10. If you see, both are 50% only. Okay. Suppose if both are 50%, there is a consistency. Suppose the first month it is having only 10% profit, second month it is giving 50% profit, then there is a misstatement. So there is some sort of doubt we have to get. So this is called ratio analysis. Next one is trend analysis. First month my turnover is 2 crores. Second month my turnover is 100 crores. How it is possible? See, of course, there can be a basis for that. Maybe the management has done much marketing activities and got a big contract. For all these things, you should have a basis. So that's why if you do this analytical procedures, you will come to one idea, and based on that analytical procedures, you will go deep down into the transaction level. So first point is analytical procedures to be applied as risk assessment procedures. Whether based on this ratio analysis, trend analysis, am I able to find out any risk of misstatements or not? So these are the first point you have to consider. Next one, obtaining general understanding of the important words: legal, regulatory framework applicable to the entity, and compliance. What is this? What is the discussion actually? Prior to your risk assessment process or audit procedures, you have to consider few important matters. First matter we discussed whether there is a necessity of using ratio analysis, trend analysis, or which ratio analysis, which technique I have to use. Okay. Next, second point is you have to understand legal and regulatory framework. Suppose if it is a company, obviously the Companies Act is applicable, and also whether the entity is following it or not. Basic evaluation before commencing the audit procedures. Next one, determination of materiality. Actually, there is one standards on auditing on this materiality. What is this materiality? Simply for our understanding, for classroom understanding, we can say important areas. Out of the subject matter which you are going to verify now as per the scope of work engagement letter given to you. And in this subject matter, what are the material items? That means what are the important items? Say for example, you take for example the office expenditure, office maintenance expenditures. In the office maintenance expenditure, you have seen few heads like payment of sweeper salaries, purchase of some housekeeping items, and other petty repairs in the office. And you have seen repairs and maintenance in the office a big figure. That means through this financial year, the repairs and maintenance are coming to almost 6 to 7 lakhs under office maintenance expenditure. And the housekeeping material or other purchases are coming to some 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. So 5 lakhs, 5,000 to 6,000 rupees. If you compare both these things, which is the material zone for us? Obviously, the repairs and maintenance part. So in such a way, you have to see importance of the items in the subject matter. Those are called material items. Point number 1. Number 2, sir, materiality is based on just the amounts. Materiality is decided just based on the amount. We also said initially that statutory compliances, irrespective of the monetary impact, are always material. Statutory compliances are always material. Accounting standards compliance, in case of company, if they are applicable to that organization, they are always material. So materiality cannot be defined in easily. So it is always in the standard, the institute uses that materiality is a relative term. Unless you understand the transaction, then only you will be able to decide whether it is material or not. Not based on the amount, not based on any other things. So materiality is to be related to the true and fair view and also your objectives and also assessment of risk of misstatements. So in this way you have to decide what are material items and what are not so material. Don't say material. You have to say not so material. Okay. So this is also part of your planning. Suppose if you are given a time of 1 month to complete entire one financial year's audit, then obviously you have to apply this concept of materiality. Okay. Sir, difference between materiality and sampling? Materiality also you are doing some classification. And what is the sampling? What is the difference between sampling? In sampling also what you are doing? You are doing only few transactions. In materiality also you are deciding what is important, what is not important. Okay. But in materiality you are deciding what is important and what is not important. But in the material zone, if the transactions are voluminous, there are so many vouchers and bills, then it is not possible for you to verify all those things. In that material zone, you will apply sampling. So this is how we have to differentiate. These are a bit tricky questions. These type of questions you will not get in exams. You will get these type of questions in your interviews. Don't think that once you qualify as a chartered accountant, the companies will ask you to, sir, chartered accountant, almost Bharat Ratna and Padma Shri, come and join, salary 2 lakhs per month. No, there will be a phase called interview. In my experience, I have gone for one interview with Coca-Cola company. The person who has taken my interview is a chartered accountant, young chartered accountant like you. And he has put such a tricky questions. He started from accounting standard number 1 till accounting standard number 29. And he connected every accounting standard with accounting standard number 29. What is 29? Provisions. Accounting standard number 1 versus 29, 2 versus 29, 3 versus 29, 4 versus 29. So he has taken some example from accounting standard number 2 and he asked me whether there is any connectivity to 29 or not. Of course, thanks to the lecturers who has taught me, I was able to answer few questions. Not all the standards. Because few are not connected. So even he also expects that you have to say, sir, this standard, that standard, no connectivity. And don't choose for answer. Okay, there is no connectivity. That's it. That's the answer. That's what he expects. So there is a phase called interview. In the interview, you will get these type of questions. Okay, careful. Because I have seen in my experiences, few chartered accountants and ICW people also has worked under me. They prepare a very good CV or a resume, and where they will mention all the content what is there in the internet, not there in their brain. They don't rate their competencies and capabilities. They will copy paste some other's CV, and they want that CV to look impressive to the person who is going to recruit you. But in the interview, everything will be clarified. In Hindi, we say, "Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani." So careful. Sometimes while reading the subject, you may get this type of questions. So that's why we're getting a clarity. So this is determination of materiality is also a planning exercise. Next one. This we already discussed. Involvement of experts. Okay, this already we discussed a number of times. Involvement of experts, necessity is there or not, you have to decide. Suppose there is a court case on the company. Okay, and the company has given that, sir, we are going to win the case, don't worry. Then you have to say that, sir, I need to discuss with your lawyer. Sir, we engaged an international lawyer who stays in USA. Okay, so in such a case, you have to say, sir, I want to talk to him. Please arrange a call with him. Sir, when you are awake, he is sleeping. Okay, when you are awake, he is sleeping. And when he is awake, you are sleeping. How can we arrange the call? Let us strike a balance. Let us decide one time so that we can discuss with this. Sir, actually nowadays he is very busy. He is available only after 3 months. Timing. Okay. So that's why we said, before giving the audit report, before finalizing the audit, you can't say, I want expert opinion. So involvement of expert is there. Then you have to plan it properly in advance. Then you have to communicate to the management, so there is a involvement of expert. I want to talk to him. Please arrange a call with him. So based on the time. So this is a part of your planning. Next, performance of other risk assessment procedures. Sir, risk assessment procedures, you said audit procedures. Okay. And you said analytical procedures is one of the risk assessment procedures. What are these other risk assessment procedures? So these are nothing but other audit techniques that we will come across. And initially I want to tell you one or two techniques like inquiry, observation, analytical procedures. In such a way, we will use some audit procedures. What is this inquiry? The name itself says that you have to prepare a questionnaire and ask the employees of the organization and the management that you want to know some information. Inquiry. Next one is observation. Suppose if you are evaluating intercontrol system, one day you will go to that organization, you will do a walkthrough in that organization, you will see how the works are being performed. And sir, everything happens, say for example, you want to observe the accounting process. He says that, sir, everything happens in the system itself. Then I want to understand where the initial entry happens. Where the initial entry happens. Is it manual or the transaction is picked from click of the button? That means there is is there any process of typing the transaction, or the transaction is picked from the click of the button? Sir, where the click of the button happens? You take for example Flipkart, Amazon, and you ordered one product. Can you imagine how many transactions get generated and gets posted into their books of accounts? Suppose when you order a product, first one is your purchase order. The purchase order gets generated. Next one, Amazon is only a mediator. He doesn't own any product. Of course, he owns some products, but most of the products are from some other vendor. So when you raise a purchase order, at the click of your button, place your order. You are raising one purchase order to Amazon. At the same time, Amazon raises a purchase order to the vendor. So two purchase orders are being raised. Nobody is typing that purchase order. Nobody is typing the purchase order. Next, you are making a payment. Sir, I am very cunning fellow. I am not doing any payment now. I will put on cash on delivery. See, just understand. You want to gift a product to somebody, And don't behave like a conjuice and put cash on delivery. When you are gifting somebody, make the payment. Few people are there, they will gift you and they will put cash on delivery. You will say that, Arey mama, if I put cash on delivery, that fellow will bring the product to you, otherwise it will not reach. Okay, so when you are making the payment, what is happening? It's a payment for you, but a receipt for the Amazon. So a receipt is being generated. And do you think that one person will be observing all this and typing the purchase orders, passing the accounting entries? No, at the click of the button, the purchase orders are being raised and the payment entries are being passed in the system automatically. And who is the accountant for Amazon? You are the accountant. Because all these transactions you are only doing, you are only the person who is passing entries in the books of accounts of the Amazon. Don't go and ask salary at the end of the month. So these are the transactions. Nobody is typing these transactions. These are happening at the click events. At the click of the mouse, click of the buttons, these transactions are getting initiated. Suppose if my organization of that kind, then I have to observe how the transactions are initiated, how they are moving in the software, how they are coming to journal, how they are coming to the ledger, and how they are coming to the finally to the financial statements. This is what we do in audit, right? We will verify whether the financial statements are matching with the books of accounts or not. So this is called observation. So inquiry, observations, and analytical procedures. Of course, vouching, verification, all these other techniques and other audit procedures. So these are other audit procedures. See, everything is a risk assessment process only. Okay. So this discussion says that prior to auditors identification and assessment of risk of material misstatements, you have to keep in mind few important matters, and this is the discussion. Okay. So this is one important topic. There is a chance of getting either 4 marks or 5 marks questions. Okay. Now, hope you are making note of these important words, underlining and all when I was doing. Next discussion, involvement of engagement, key engagement, team members in planning audit or not. See, few people say that, see, everything I will plan, you have to execute, that's it. You will not have any voice. See, that's a wrong approach. See, when this is your first audit, and your team is having experienced audit staff, then you have to make them part of the audit planning. You have to discuss with them, make them sit and understand that this is my first audit with this company, even a first audit in my career, since you are having an experience. Okay, so let us discuss how to carry on this engagement, how to proceed on this engagements. So that's why it's a good exercise if you involve your team members in your planning exercise. So that's why involvement of key engagement team members in planning the audit. Sir, in what way it is beneficial? See, their experience, their insight may be helpful to you. See, once you join an audit firm after qualification or during articles, suppose if your chartered accountant says, Mr. A, please lead this audit. Please lead this audit, and you can take the team members, Mr. B, C, D along with you for completion of this engagement. If B, C, D are having a bit experience with this audit, with this client and all, then you will discuss, sir, I am article students, even the boss has asked me to lead this one, I need your insight, I need your experiences. So how this client is, how is his intercontrol system, since you have done this audit previously, so just share your expertise with me. Based on this, we will prepare the plan. See, there should not be any question of egos in this. See, this is ultimately the engagement of the auditor, not you and his. If anything goes wrong, your boss is responsible. So, this egos, and why should I say, since you are article student, you came from the institute, refresh, you tell me. See, these type of things are ruled out. That's why auditing and behavioral science. So this is one area where you will see some experienced people who are semi-qualified may not cooperate if you are qualified and you are leading that audit. Because of your qualification, your boss has asked you to lead this audit, but your team consists of semi-qualified people who are doing these innovations on the CA final right from Babar and Akbar. So they are not so happy with your leadership sometimes. So it's in your hands now. Institute doesn't teach us all this. It will not appear in the matter how to deal with this type of people. So it is your expertise and professional judgment and behavioral science skills how to grab these people's experiences and insight into the audit. So that's why please involve these people and plan the audit. And also it's a general words. Obviously if you discuss with the team members and explain them what are the areas to be verified, what is the timing, what procedures are be used, you can complete audit in timely manner, efficiently, effectively. So in fact this is one examination technique. Suppose if you ask what is the benefit of plan, first advantage is planning helps in completing the audit in efficient, effective and timely manner. One point is covered. Okay. And I have seen few students who will repeat this point 3 to 4 times in the answer with active voice and passive voice. See, careful, repeat, say only one time, that's enough. Okay. So this is one topic on involvement of key engagement team members in planning the audit. Discuss with them. Next point is that discussion of elements of planning with entities management. This is most important. See, just because you plan an audit and if you keep it in your file, that's not sufficient. You have to discuss your plan with the management. Suppose if you say, sir, tomorrow I want to do physical verification of this stock, and if you inform them today, management says that, sir, you plan for tomorrow, but the person who has to be helping you out in the stock audit procedures, my employee, is on leave for 7 days. So unless you communicate your plan to the management, what procedures you are going to use, and when you are going to do this, and what records you need, and when you need your employees' attendance and also experts' involvement, management cannot cooperate. You have to understand the practical problems also. So that's why you have to communicate the plan to the management of the entity, and also you have to discuss with them. Okay. So while discussing, you can simply say that there are certain areas which I want to go 100% audit. Okay. You need not say that I am doing sampling. Don't say that I will do sampling in some areas. In other areas, I will do 100% auditing. Okay. So you can say that, sir, these areas I want to concentrate more because our previous experience is this. In such a way, you have to communicate your plan to the management. So discuss elements of planning with entities management. While discussing the matters, discussing the overall audit strategy plan, care is required not to compromise the effectiveness of the audit. Most important sentence. See, since you have less time and the fees is also less, okay, you cannot perform a limited assurance engagement. Its audit means at least reasonable assurance is required. Okay, don't compromise on effective audit. This is important. So, in this way, you have to involve your team members in your audit planning, and also you have to discuss your audit plan with the management. Next topic, planning process and elements of planning. So, planning has two things. One is preliminary engagement activities and planning activities. Preliminary engagement activities and planning activities. As the name itself says, preliminary engagement activities. So these are the activities which you are going to do before starting your engagement. So what are those activities? Include the following. First one, performing procedures regarding the important word continuous of client relationship and audit engagement. That means acceptance of continuance of client relationships and audit engagement. Whether you want to do this year's audit or not, client has come to you and asking you to do the audit. Are you ready to take up it or not? Whether you want to continue with him or not, whether you want to accept it or not. So that is your first preliminary engagement activity. Okay. So when the client is asking you, why should I deny? Why should I reject that offer? Your past experience and the market information and other team members' experience, you may say that it is not good for the continuance of the relationship with the client. Okay. So let us see. Should obtain information necessary for before accepting an engagement with a new client and continue an existing client. Continue an existing client and accepting a new client based on the information. What information? Suppose this client is there in the market for the past 10 years and he has changed auditors every year. That is his past history. Every year there is a new auditor for that organization. This year you are the new goat. So in such a case, you have to understand when he is changing the auditor every year means something is suspicious. So this information throws some doubt in the brain whether I should accept it or not. Maybe something wrong. That's why the auditors are changing. And also the institute says that before commencing an audit which is previously done by another auditor, you have to write a letter to the previous auditor saying that, sir, earlier you were the auditor, now they have appointed me, okay, and any issues in continuing the audit, okay, any opinion from your end so that I may accept or I may reject this offer or this engagement. So this is one of the professional ethics points. That means you have to communicate with the previous auditor. So there is one guidance note also on this, communication with the previous auditor. So when you have to communicate, what you have to communicate, how you have to communicate, all this process has been explained. Suppose when you write a letter to the previous auditor and he says that, sir, I have a bad experience with this client because he asked me to sign the balance sheet and profit loss account without verifying the records. Even if I strictly ask for record, he is giving only the day book and the ledger, he is not providing the evidences. Even if he is providing the evidences, he is showing all the quotations and also email correspondences and some handwritten bills and all which are not acceptable. So this is my experience. Rest I am leaving to you. So when you are getting a letter like this, you can understand whether to accept this or not. Whether to accept this engagement or not to accept. Why should I reject? Because understand, careful. This is preliminary engagement activity. So before accepting the engagement, you got this information. Now, if you want to continue this engagement, based on the information given by this auditor, now it is your time to talk to the client. Sir, only if you are able to provide the complete evidences and the supporting bills for the transaction, then only I am going to accept this engagement. Initially, at the preliminary phase, I want to see on sample basis your records once. Based on that only, I will be able to come to a conclusion whether I accept or continue the client relationships. Okay. So these are basic preliminary engagement activities. So that's why we say a few words. Integrity of the client. What is this integrity? Integrity. Sorry, integrity means unity, not unity. Integrity means the pureness of the mind, internal mind. Suppose if there is a person who has brought up in a good environment by his parents and gurus and who taught them all the good moral principles. Okay, when that person starts a business, okay, obviously he will comply with those morals and principles and ethics. So this is called integrity of the client. But how would I know how he is brought up? Okay, see, that's why you have to evaluate whether the client is committed towards the proper maintenance of the financial information, ethics in the business operations or not. So that you have to evaluate first, and what techniques used we are leaving it to you. So understand the integrity of the client, whether the client is good or not. Next one is competence of his own engagement team. Your team members, of course, you are competent, but your team is not competent. Then there is a doubt. You can't accept this engagement because with an incompetent team, you can't complete the audit in effective, efficient manner. So integrity of the client, competence of his own engagement, and matters that arise during current and previous audit engagement may need to be considered. So your previous experience and since this is a preliminary engagement activity, when you have gone to the client's premises and you have observed with your eyes how the operations are being run, when you are not satisfied the way they are run and the bills and files are being properly kept in that office, so then there is also some question mark will come in your mind whether to accept it or not. So these are some matters which you have to keep in mind. Next, besides, it means apart from this, in case of initial engagement, suppose this is your first audit, as I told you, communication with predecessor auditor should be made where there has been a change of auditor. This is what we discussed. Communication with the predecessor, previous auditor. So this is one preliminary engagement activity. That means see whether the client is a competent one, efficient one, and he is having integrity or not. Whether he is having commitment towards the proper maintenance of the books of accounts, whether he is having a commitment towards the ethical values commitment, ethical values compliances in the business or not. So all these things you have to evaluate, and you have to see whether your team is competent to complete this audit or not. And also you have to see on your basic observation and visit to the client's premises whether the controls are being properly followed or not. Sir, when I went to the client's premises only, I stayed for half an hour. Within half an hour, how can I evaluate that there is a proper maintenance of controls and all this? See, this is what I am saying, professional skill. I will tell you an example. Recently, I have taken up this examination observers work. I mean, institute every year for every examination, they appoint few chartered accountants as observers in the examination centers. See, I went to an engineering college. Actually, the exam was CA exam was conducted in an engineering college. See, it is not that throughout the exam we stand in the exam room. Okay, we do a visits and later on we sit in the principal's chamber or somewhere. Again, we do some visits. And I had an occasion to talk to the principal of the college. The principal of the college is about to retire in the next year. Simply asked, sir, since it's an engineering college and that's a civil engineering college, how are your students? How is their capabilities and competences? Suppose if they go out of this college and become civil engineers, are they able to create a constructive civil works? Because in the college I have seen all foreign countries construction, no Indian construction was there as a small, the picture or somewhere. Throughout the college, the construction images and the photos are belonging to foreign countries. Eiffel Tower, the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Burj Khalifa, and all foreign construction creation. Then ask, sir, all are from foreign countries. See, now you can tell me when we can see Indian constructions as images in the colleges. And how are your students and capabilities? He said, sir, none of these people are capable to become good civil engineers. None. Entire big college. They asked, why so? You know who is the person who got college first in this college? What is his marks? Pass marks. The person who is the college first is a pass marks person. Then you can imagine remaining people are how they are. And recently, campus interviews has been conducted by one construction company. And one of the question in that interview is, they called the candidate, since you are a civil engineer, they made you to sit. They asked you, you are sitting in one room. Okay, can you explain me the measurements of this room just by looking at it? You are a civil engineer, right? Just by looking at it, you should be able to say, this is the length, this is the width, and this is the breadth, and all this. This is how it is constructed. At least you should give 4 to 5 points on this room. Because you are a civil engineer. No one is able to answer that. See, why I am saying this? Competence, knowledge. Okay. So, after qualification, if you are unable to say or speak all these the subject related things, so there is no use. So that's why we say that competence of the own engagement team, their knowledge and capabilities. Yeah. So this is one point on preliminary engagement activities. Next one, most important thing. What is the discussion? Preliminary engagement activities. I have not started my audit yet. I have not started my audit. Okay. I have not given acceptance also for the engagement letter. So that's why these are called preliminary engagement activities. Maybe these are like before accepting the engagement, or just you signed a letter and gave him and just you are doing a walkthrough. So this is the stage lies in between. Before commencement of the audit, simply we can say before commencement of the engagement or the audit. What is the second point? Evaluating compliance with ethical requirements including independence. See, this is a question to yourself. Whether I am able to follow the ethical requirements, whether I can maintain the qualities of auditor in this engagement or not, whether I can be independent or not. If there is no possibility for independence, that means the management is forcing you to work according to their expectations, forcing you to sign the financial information which are not proper, and they are offering you so much of money, then you can't be independent in such areas. So you have to understand whether I can maintain my professional ethics, whether I can maintain my independence, can I be unbiased in this organization's audit or not. If you are unable to maintain your ethical requirements and independence, leave that engagement. Most important thing, Institute strictly says this. The concept of independence is most important. Okay. So evaluate whether you can comply with ethical requirements including independence or not in this engagement. If not, don't accept, don't continue. Now let us see the points. Word important. The auditor and his engagement team continuously evaluate compliance with ethical requirements, independence. First day you have gone to that organization, you got a very good hospitality, very good treatment by the management, even the accountants, accounts managers, everybody has come to wish you and they said, sir, welcome to the organization, we are very happy to have with you such an experienced chartered accountant. From tomorrow itself we will start that everything is fair in love and war. Okay, so we can commence the audit from tomorrow onwards, so you can help us in with your experience and knowledge and all this. Okay, the hospitality is good. Okay, whether it will make to join in hospital or not, that you have to think. Okay, so that's why not only you, your engagement team members are also has to continuously observe during the audit itself. Okay, at the starting point and also during the audit itself, whether we are able to comply with our independence or not. Anywhere we are being influenced by the management or the staff, okay, so that we are deviating from the professional ethics and independences. So when if you see such type of instances, you have to be very, very careful. Okay, when you see in the starting stage itself, then you have to quit that engagement. When you have already jumped into that engagement, then you have to see how to come out. Okay, so these are another requirements. Next, what do you mean by independence? See, here we got one definition. Important. Independence means what's important? judgment of a person not to subordinate to wishes, direction of another person who might have engaged him. What are the important words? Judgment. You decide. It is your judgment not to subordinate. Don't become slave or a subordinate to whims, fancies, expectations, directions of the person who engaged you. Sir, why should not? Why should not work? Why should not I work according to the wishes of the management? Their wish is to do the audit. I am doing that. Yes, that's an engagement. But after jumping into the engagement, okay, if you are unable to maintain the independence, then don't make yourself subordinate to them just because you have signed the engagement letter. There are areas where you can come out simply by saying that, sir, this is not okay. So don't become subordinate to the directions and wishes of the management, just they are paying fees to you. Careful. So this is definition of independence. Next. The engagement partner, this is your responsibility, shall obtain information on any threats to independence. Sir, everywhere you are using independence, independence. What is independence? See, the word itself says independent means not to be dependent on their whims and fancies. Okay. So you have to continuously see whether there is any threat to my independence. See, in movies also we see that there will be auditors who will be asked to give a report in the favor of the villain, and villain threats the auditors, and auditor becomes a hero, and he kills the villain and his gang and all. So that is not possible in the practical world. Okay, don't think that you can fight like Vijay or Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, that is not possible. You have to come out legally out of it. Okay, don't resort to illegal means which is against the law. Okay, you can kill the people just like that. In the movies it's okay. In the movies the hero kills even the policeman also. So that's a big crime. You will be hanged. But movies doesn't show that. So careful. So if there is a threat to the independence, please see the way, legal ways that are possible to come out of this engagement to overcome this threat. Next one. Breaches to independence policies by his team to determine whether they create a threat to independence. Sometimes management will create threat to your independence. Sometimes your team itself will create threat to your independence. See, ultimately you are the chartered accountant, you are going to sign the financial information. Okay. Sometimes if your team gets compromised, collude with the employees of the organization, then there is also threat to the independence. See, how would I know that my team has colluded with organizations, employees? That's why we said occasionally you maintain or you conduct meetings with your engagement team members. That's why you have to plan your audit. You have to explain them how to evaluate the particular area, what procedures they have to use. You have to clearly give it in writing. If they are not following that procedure, they are saying, sir, no need to follow, sir. They are everything fine. Actually, I know this client for the past 10 years. You know, but I don't know. Because this is my initial audit engagement. Okay. So, in which case, when the team members are speaking this type of languages, okay, some question mark has to come in mind. There's something suspicious. So, we have to evaluate the team members' work also, how they are doing their job. Whether their work is creating any problem for compliance for the ethical requirements or not. That also you have to see with one eye, professional eye. And what I have to do? Simply take appropriate action to eliminate those threats. And see here, if considered appropriate, withdraw where withdrawal is permitted by law or regulation. Sir, actually this is a voluntary audit. That means the partnership firm has come to me and asked me to do the audit. See, I did for 2 months and I have seen that there is no possibility of compliance with ethical requirements, and also the inter-control system is not okay. And I am feeling that I may not give the opinion properly. I may not continue this engagement properly. Then simply I will write a letter to the partners of the organization, say that, sir, I am unable to continue my engagement because of so and so reasons. Suppose it's a company, you are appointed by the shareholders, then withdrawal from the engagement is a bit legal process. Then you have to see how you have to come out from that engagement if it is a company. So that's why in case of the appointment is done by law or a government, or the appointment is guided by regulation, and your withdrawal, for your withdrawal, if there is any conditions to be complied with, you have to follow the conditions, and accordingly legally only you have to come out from the engagement. So those legal requirements also you have to keep in mind, and based on that only you have to come out. Suppose you are engaged by the government to the audit of a company, then you have to write a letter to the government stating the reasons. So can I write the letter simply directly to the government without discussing with the client? No. Because initially first you have to discuss with the client. See, when you write a letter to the government, the first question that comes from the government is, have you communicated your observation to the client or not? Client says, sir, we actually observed. Okay, there can be deficiencies. He could have discussed it with me. I could have given my explanations. I could have rectified it. I could have resolved it. But he didn't discuss it with me. So this is a practical point. Okay. Okay, you can come out legally. You can withdraw from that engagement. Before that, it is your responsibility to discuss with the client, saying that, sir, these are my observations and these are not allowing me to continue this engagement. So, since your commitment is also not up to the mark and you are not helping me out to continue this engagement, so I am withdrawing this from engagement. In such a way, you have to write a letter. Sir, I wrote a letter, but the client said I didn't receive it. I told you, you have to come out legally. Sir, then how I have to send the letter? Email, best communication. Okay. Few people say that courier, register post. But remember one thing. Suppose if you send by a courier, how you send that letter? You will put it in one cover and you will send it to the organization. They will say that, yes, sir, we got courier from you. Since you got our company's stamp and seal on the courier docket sheet, yes, we received. But in that cover, there is only one white paper, not your letter. That's why if you see the lawyers, how they will communicate the court notices, they will not put the court notice in any letter. They will fold that notice and they will pin it, and on that notice itself, they will write your address and put in the post box. So later on, you can't deny that you have not received because they posted the letter, not the cover or a parcel. So these are certain postal loopholes, courier loopholes. Of course, this is complete the law. Anyway, simply we say that you should try to take appropriate action so that you can eliminate this stress. This, I am talking about this appropriate action. What is this appropriate action? You can communicate with the management. You can discuss with the management. They will say that, sir, is it happening so? My employee is not cooperating to you. And he is saying that not to verify those areas. Okay, I will call the temperature, I will talk to him. Because see, management can't sit with you every day, right? They will give you employees and they will ask you, sir, please discuss with employees, take the records from them and do your audit. When that employee is creating threat to the independence, you can't blame the management. So that's why it says, take appropriate action. The sentence is to eliminate such a threat or reduce them to the acceptable level. This happens only if you communicate to the management. So this you have to understand. Okay. Or if considered appropriate, that means even after doing all these things, if you are not satisfied, okay, then the alternative is withdraw from engagement where it is permitted by law or regulations. If withdrawal is permitted by law, you can come out of that engagement. If the law says that no, either you give the report or continue the audit. That means you have to come out only by giving a report. You tell me what happened. Then you have to give an audit report at that point itself, saying that this is my present audit report. Then this is my negative report. Suppose if you are totally dissatisfied with the organization's finance information, then you can give a negative report. Suppose if your appointment says that some report you have to give, then only you can go out. Then you have to give some report and come out. And if they say that you can withdraw in between by giving a resignation letter or a withdrawal letter, then you can come out by giving a withdrawal letter or a resignation. That's why you have to see the legal possibilities and requirements. So accordingly, you have to withdraw that engagement. So this is one activity. Next one. And what we are discussing now? Preliminary engagement activities. Sir, wait. You are saying preliminary engagement activities, but I am seeing some points which you will do only when you start your audit. Right? No problem. See, as I said, preliminary engagement activities sometimes happen before commencement of the audit and during the initial days of the audit. So sometimes it may happen at the time also. That's why the points are like this. And also we said we are discussing this head under audit planning. And also we said audit planning is not a discrete phase, it is a continuous iterative process. That means during your performance of audit also you have to see whether your audit plan is going according to the plan. Okay. Next one. Understanding the terms of engagement. This is what I was discussing right from chapter 1. Please understand the scope of your work. Please understand the terms of appointment of you. These are called terms of engagement. That means the conditions of the appointment, the terms of engagement. So, in your both interest, that means either client and you, in the interest of both the candidates, the terms and conditions are to be understood. There should be a consensus between the client and you. Meeting of minds. So, in the interest, both entity and the auditor sends an audit engagement letter before commencement of audit to help avoid misunderstanding with respect to the audit. So, you write a letter to the management that you ask me to conduct the audit. My audit is going to be this according to the discussions. And no confusion with the client regarding the terms of engagement, the repetition. So, finally, performing preliminary activities assist the auditor in identifying, evaluating events, circumstances, affect auditors, plan and perform. So, that's why I said preliminary engagement activities not only mean that you have to start this before commencement of the engagement. Okay, these are the activities which you can take up even when you are performing the audit engagement. So, this word is important. Perform. Okay. So, this is one discussion. So, examination point of view. You may get question on this. Discuss preliminary engagement activities. Please understand, when we are discussing these topics, we are going into some examples and we are stressing some important words in the discussions. Okay. So, please try to underline and note down the examples which I am speaking. Okay. So, see, classroom is fine. You will listen, it will go into the brain at this moment. But once you go back to your home, all these things will vanish. Once you small reel in your YouTube or a short, okay, all these things will vanish. Okay. Please note down. So, planning consists of two phases. We said one is preliminary engagement activities, next one is planning activities. Now, you have to start planning your audit after this preliminary basic engagement activities. Let us see this. See, in this chapter we are using, in this chapter title we have used three words: audit strategy, audit plan, audit program. What is the difference between these three? Now we will understand. So, first let us see overall audit strategy. What it includes? Point number one, scope. Okay, in your audit strategy, you will write what is my scope of work. Suppose the engagement is only for stock verification, then your scope is stock verification. Next one is timing, when you have to do and when it will be completed, how many days it will take. So, timing. Next one is direction of the audit. What is this direction? The direction means this? No. See, direction is towards your objectives, achievement of the objectives. What are your objectives? Reasonable assurance on the subject matters, whether they are free from misstatements or not, and finally report. So these are the three areas or important areas which you will put in your audit strategy: basic, scope, timing, and a brief discussion on the audit engagement. This will come in audit strategy. The process of establishing overall audit strategy assists the auditor to determine. See, this sentence is having three questions. Sorry, three important words. Assists to determine. Process. The process of establishing audit strategy. That means once you prepare the audit strategy, assist the auditor to determine. Okay. So this will help the auditor to understand few things. Once you prepare your audit strategy and write your scope, timing and direction, it will help you determine few things. What is that? Determine is decide. Resources to deploy. For example, experienced team members and experts. See, once you say your scope of audit is stock verification, and if that is in Indian Oil Corporation or Hindustan Petroleum, okay, the first point is involvement of experienced team. Don't say immediately expert. First your team has to do the audit. Okay, suppose if I have to go by expert opinion, I will take the expert opinion itself. Why auditor? So there are some works which are to be done by auditor, and later on you have to take the expert opinion as a corroborative supporting evidence, not the basic evidence. Just you can't say that, sir, give me your expert opinion, I will give my opinion. Okay, you have to do your work. So expert opinion should be supporting your work. Okay, it's always a secondary thing. So once you prepare your scope of work, once you decide how many days I have to, within how many days I have to complete, when I have to do and all this, and what are my objectives, then first you have to decide your team. That means the resources. Next, number of team members, that means amount of resources. Can I complete alone or I need 2 to 3 people? Next one, when these resources are to be deployed, whether at an interim audit stage or at key cutoff dates. Suppose I want to involve one experienced person in my audit process. Of course, this is stock verification, but initially I will do some basic verification activities. For that, I don't need any experienced staff. So I will say that experienced staff, you come after 1 month. I will take the experts support after 2 months of my audit. So this is called when. So who are your team members? What is their competency levels? And when you have to bring these people to the particular work at key cutoff dates. That means at which junction, at which point, at which area, on which date you have to call these people. That also you have to prepare. So this also you can decide. So you can decide the resources, you can decide how many number of people, and you can decide when I have to call these people, experts and all these people. Next, how such resources are managed, directed and supervised, when team meetings reviews to be held. We also discussed, once you engage a team, at some points you have to discuss with the few members how the work is going on, whether the work is going on as per the strategy and plan or not, that you have to discuss with your team members. So once you prepare your audit strategy, you will be able to decide these things. That means you will be able to decide the resources required, when they are required, how many team members are required, and whether there is a necessity of involvement of expert or not, when the expert is to be called, and all these things you are able to decide. So just because I wrote this scope, timing under all these things I am able to decide, it doesn't, you are able to decide means, that doesn't mean that God will come and do this. These things also you only has to do. So this will help you to plan these things. So slowly we are moving from strategy to planning zone. Okay, so strategy and planning zone. And few more points. The auditor should take following factors into consideration while establishing audit strategy. Apart from all these points, we have few more points. First one, what is the question? Shall take the following factors into consideration. That means you have to keep in mind below points, okay, while preparing your audit strategy, plan and programs. What are the points that I have to keep in mind? What is the first one? Characteristics of engagement that defines its scope. So identify the scope of the engagement, like applicable financial reporting framework. Suppose you are asked to do the entire financial information audit, then you have to see if it is a company. Obviously, Companies Act is applicable, and the applicable financial reporting framework is Companies Act, balance sheet, P&L account requirements, and accounting standards. So that next one. Understand the characteristics of engagement and scope. Nature of business segments to be audited. Nature of business segments to be audited. Suppose, see, my company is having various divisions. My company, I am not having any subsidiaries. I am saying my company is having various divisions. I am having hospital. I am having hotels. I am having mining. I am having some other FMCG industry, supermarkets. Suppose if you are having these many number of divisions, then you have to decide number of segments you have to audit. Okay. Suppose this is not a company and this is some partnership firm. This partnership firm is having so many divisions of businesses, so many segments of businesses. In such case, you have to decide whether I need any special knowledge to audit that segment or not. Suppose they asked you to do a hospital or their pharmacy store, in which case you should possess some knowledge relating to pharmaceutical industry or medical industry or healthcare industry. Okay. So now you have to understand how many segments that organization is having, whether I can do that segments audit with my knowledge or I need any special knowledge. Suppose in your audit firm, there is one article student who is having experience in hospital audits, pharmacy audits, in which case I will involve this boy in my audit team members because he is having some competence, experience on that audits. So this is one audit strategy point. So what is this discussion? Auditor shall take into consideration, shall keep in mind these points while establishing your audit strategy. For time being, audit strategy, audit plan, audit program, understand they are one and the same. Simply audit planning. Okay. So what it says, understand the characteristics of engagement and your scope. Simply say, understand your scope, what you have to do. Okay. In that, what you are saying, whether any format is applicable for the representation of this information. That means applicable financial reporting framework. Any law is applicable, any standards are applicable, and also how many business divisions that engagement is having, and whether I have to do audit of all the segments. For auditing a particular division of that business, do I require any special knowledge? Whether my team members are having that knowledge or not. These things you have to decide. Sir, when you will take me to the audit? Till today, you are asking me to look at the client's premises and all by standing on his wall, whether the intercontrol system is okay or not. Till now, I have not started my audit. Remember, okay? Till now, I have not started. These are all planning stage. Sir, when I will come to audit? That's the question. Okay. So, before starting your audit, you have to do all these things. See, why should I do all these things? The client is offering a good fees to me. Please allow me to do the audit. Once I give my report, I will get 10 lakhs rupees check, less of TDS. But you are not allowing me to go. See, for your safety only, we are explaining all these things. If you don't take care of all these things, and finally, your certificate will be torn into small pieces by the institute. Okay. So that's why careful in your engagements. Next one, important. Industry specific reporting requirements required by industry regulators. Suppose you are auditing an insurance company. In case of insurance companies, apart from even though it is a company, Apart from the company law requirements of disclosures in P&L account balance sheet, the Insurance Act also says some disclosures. Suppose if you are auditing a bank, apart from company law disclosures, the Banking Regulation Act also says some schedules. Suppose if you go to bank audit, you know how many reports you have to give? How many certificates you have to give? Almost 50, 50. And these 50 certificates, only 10 are related to Companies Act. Remaining other are related to Banking Regulation Act and RBI requirements. There are certain requirements by RBI which are not in Banking Regulation Act or even in Companies Act also. There are certain requirements by RBI which are not in company law, which are not in Banking Regulation Act, which are not there in RBI Act, which are from the court cases, which are from the popular court judgments. In one court judgment, there was one lapse by the bank, and they said that this point is to be included in the auditor's report as per so-and-so case law. And also, in India, there are certain committees has been formed with experts by Government of India for regulation of the banking industry. These committees has prescribed some reports from the chartered accountants during their audit. So these are certain committee reports. They have given 5 to 6 questions, and when you go for a bank audit, you have to comment on these 5 to 6 questions also. So in such a way, you have to see, apart from regular general applicabilities, applicable financial reporting framework, are there any industry specific requirements which I have to see as an auditor? The examples are banking and insurance companies. Bank accounts are there in accounts, I think in final. And if it is an electricity company, Companies Act, and there are certain other disclosures by the Electricity Act. So that's why you have to understand industry specific requirements. So this is also part of your audit strategy and planning. Next one, expected use of audit evidence obtained in previous audits. Sir, I am doing the current audit. Why should I worry about the audit evidence gained in previous audits? We told you to continue this relationship or not. Okay. So during your previous audit, you didn't got sufficient proper audit in a particular area. Now you have to see that particular area. What is the status this year? Whether they have changed or still the status is just like in the previous year. So you have to see use of audit evidence obtained in the previous audits. Another point is expected use of audit evidence obtained in the previous audit. Can I use the evidence which I obtained in previous audit in the current audit? What is that? See, in my previous audit, I noticed some non-compliances to intercontrol system in stock. So based on that evidence, I will decide what audit procedures I have to follow this year in that stock area. So based on your, simply say, based on your previous experience, you have to decide current year's audit work. So this is point number 1. Identify the characteristics of the engagement that define its scope. Now, one doubt comes into students' mind. Sir, actually I completed my CA course and I want to do bank audit. Can I do the bank audit? Yes, you can do as per your qualification if you are appointed. But the knowledge, sir, the knowledge is there in my material. Okay, the knowledge is there in my material. It's great. The knowledge there in material, whether it is in your brain or not. That is another point. Okay. And as I told you, knowledge is not discrete. Okay. It's a merge of the points. So, what we are trying to say is understanding the scope of engagement. In this applicable financial reporting framework, we will be able to identify based on the statutory requirements. What about this industry specific requirements? For these industry specific requirements, you have to understand other laws also. Factories Act, is it there in your material? Industrial Disputes Act, Workmen Compensation Act, Payment of Wages Act, Minimum Wages Act, PF, Provident Fund Act is there, ESI, Employee State Insurance Act, So these are the acts which are applicable in the outside world for the business organizations. Okay. So you have to understand industry specific requirements of your engagement. I think in your previous class we discussed, suppose there is a non-compliance with the Factories Act, okay, how you have to deal with that case. So simply you can't say that Factories Act, since it is not included in my CA syllabus, even if I don't comment on that Factories Act non-compliances, I am safe. No, you are not safe. So that's why you have to gain much knowledge. Okay. Sir, again you are threatening me to enter into CA profession. You are threatening me. I am not threatening you. See, I am saying that you have to be careful once you take up this engagements. Okay. Good or bad, you have chosen the CA profession. Okay, you have to win this war. Okay, sir, my war gets over after my qualification. No, then the war starts. Bahubali part 2. One chartered accountant, one student has asked me, sir, once I qualify, I will enjoy the life a lot. I said, okay, we'll see. But after qualification, okay, actually he said, sir, when I was student, I enjoyed a lot. Because after qualification, you will be busy with works. Sir, can I read some Bernard Shaw or Adam Smith in such a way, good books and poetic books and all? Can I go to movies? You can't go to movies. Even if you go to a movie, you know how you will watch the movie? You will watch the movie like a chartered accountant only. You will audit that movie, literally. Because when I see a movie, I will audit that movie. I will see every frame, how the photography is, how the editing has been done, how the music is, how the music notes are, from where they are copied, in such a way. See, that will not, see, these are called inherent qualifications. See, that will not leave you once you become a chartered accountant, because that these things of this audit, planning, strategy, understanding the scope, characteristics, all these things have gone into your blood and meat, right? So whatever you see, you will see from audit angle only. Okay. Even if you see a big building, you will give 10 to 5 points on that building. Immediately. You will give a report. This is not right, that is not right. One fine day, your family will leave and they will go away. Because in the house also you will correct everything. If your kid behaves wrongly, you will say that no, this is incorrect. Because you are an auditor, you will give opinion on everything. And if your spouse behaves in a different way, which is not like, you will give her an opinion. You give a negative opinion. Okay, then they will react positively. Okay, so it is not that there are so much of work in the initial stages itself. It doesn't mean that I am threatening you to enter into this profession. It is not that your audit will take much time. Okay, so these are the important points you have to keep in mind when you go for an engagement. Okay, this is everywhere. Suppose if you want to go to another city also, you will plan your journey, right? You will take care of so many things. Suppose if you are carrying with your kids, you will take water, food, medicines and all that. So these are all like this. Okay. Just because these are in material, these are in points come in examination, this doesn't mean it's a big work. Okay. So these are some safeguards which you have to keep in mind. So first is identifying the characteristics of engagement that define its scope. Next, ascertain reporting objectives of the engagement to plan timing of the audit, nature of communications required. Suppose the report format is prescribed by law, then you have to understand the reporting requirements. What questions he is asking? That questions will decide your scope. Suppose you have taken up tax audit. Suppose you have taken up income tax audit of the organization. If you see the tax audit report, it is having almost 36 questions, and in this 36 questions there are sub questions. All put together it will come to around 80 questions. These 80 questions will tell you your scope. So that's why you have to understand what are the reporting requirements. Is there any format whether that report is asking any specific questions? You take for example your CARO. It is having how many points? How many questions? CARO completed? Discussion? Companies auditors report order. Company law. Company audit. CARO. So anyway, simply to say, there is one legal requirement for companies Suppose if your company is having there are some conditions, only if you satisfy these conditions, this report is applicable to you. Suppose if you are satisfying that conditions and this report format is applicable to your company, this CARO report, it is having around 22 questions. In these 22 questions, one of the question is whether the organization has taken any loans and advances from the banks and financial institutions, and the organization has proper in payment of the interest and principals in time. That means whether you have taken any loans and advances from the bank and financial institutions, whether you are proper in payment of interest and principal. This is one question. So this itself says that you have to verify that particular subject matter and give your comment on this. So that's why you have to understand the reporting requirements, objectives to plan the timing of audit and nature of communications required. Okay, what is the nature of communications? As I told you, suppose if there is an involvement of an expert, then you have to plan in advance. I have to communicate with that person. Sir, actually, I need your support with respect to this subject matter. Say, for example, there are 4 to 5 cases on the company. Suppose if the cases are related to Companies Act, then you have to discuss with 2 people. One is the company secretary, another one is the lawyer of the company who is presenting that case in the court. Because the company secretary cannot go to the court unless he is a lawyer. And also there is one more restriction, you can't practice 2 professions. Okay, you have to practice only one profession. Sir, few people are saying I am CS, yes, you can write after your name all your degrees. But you have to say whether you are a chartered accountant or a company secretary. You can't say I am a company secretary and a chartered accountant. If you are an employee, you can say that. If you are into practice, you have to choose only one profession. Even the Bar Council of India, which regulates the lawyer's profession, it says that if you are a lawyer, just be a lawyer. Don't be a chartered accountant. That means you can qualify, but you can't practice. You can do only one profession. Sir, I completed a CS, a CAA, and CA and also LLB. I cannot practice all the 4. No. You can practice, but you can't sign. That means you can give your advices as an expert advice, but you can't sign a report as a lawyer, as a chartered accountant. That means one membership number only you have to use for your certifications. As if you want to use chartered accountants from membership number or lawyer member number, such a way. So you have to understand the reporting requirements and communications with the experts. So some of the instances means examples. What is this? Organization of meetings to discuss nature, timing, extent of audit work with entity management. Okay, so simply say discussion with the management about your audit work, your audit plan. So this is one communication. Next, discussions with management regarding the expected type and timing of reports to be issued, including the auditor's report. Suppose your engagement is not a statutory audit, your engagement is an internal audit. Your engagement is an internal audit, not company audit or anything. Internal audit, I gave you that, sir, please do internal audit for me. You have to cover all the areas in my organization. Intercontrol system, purchase department, sales department, accounting information, everything up to the management, secretarial audit also you do. That means you verify whether secretarial records are also properly maintained or not. That means ROC related documents we are maintaining properly or not. That also you verify and give me the opinion. So then you have to decide expected type. That means what information you need in the report, and timing. When you need the report, you need the report on monthly basis or quarterly basis. How you want me to do the audit? If your management says that, sir, you do monthly audit, monthly internal audit, every month you come, you give opinion on the monthly compliance. I have seen few internal audits which are monthly audits. Even I did. Every month we used to go for 7 days. Once the month is completed, we used to give opinion on that month's audit. So discuss with the management what type of reports they want. Suppose the report is guided by statute requirement, you have to give a report in the statute required format only. Suppose if it is a voluntary audit or internal audit, then you can discuss with the management, ask them what type of report you need. even for the report to be given by internal auditor, institute has given certain guidelines. Okay, you have to put that basic format. Apart from basic format, you can put your comments. Okay, so that's why institute safeguards you. Okay, they will take care of you everything. Next, discussion with management regarding expected communications on the status of audit work toward the engagement. See, I will talk to the management and say that, sir, my audit will continue for 1 year since it's an internal audit. Every month at the end of the audit, okay, we need your appointment to discuss with you our observations and comments. Okay, management says, sir, I'm very busy. It is not possible for us to physically sit and discuss. So you write a mail across with all your observations. If I have any questions, I will reply back. So this way you engage, you agree with the management how the communication has to happen between you and him. Management says that, sir, you have to give your report and I will give my explanation, and next month when you are reporting, you have to communicate back to me how the previous audit report observations has been rectified or not. Suppose you said, sir, accounting records are not properly organized by your team. I instructed my team to maintain. Next month when you are doing the next month audit, you have to see whether previous month's records has been sorted or not. So in such a way, management expects few extra things from you. That also you agree at the planning stage itself. So these are called communications agreement. Okay, timing, nature, mode of communication, whether it is a physical meeting or email or how. Okay, suppose the director stays, suppose one of the management stays in US and he wants to know everything. Okay, then you have to take his time also. So in such a way, you have to plan the discussions with the management. And also we said expected nature, timing of communications among engagement team members. This we are discussing right from beginning. We have to decide the time for discussion with your engagement team. Suppose you are engaged in another audit in Gujarat. Your team are doing audit in Chennai. So then it is not possible for both of you to meet physically. Then you will meet through any Google Meet or Microsoft Teams chat or con call or WhatsApp call, whatever it is, or through emails. Then you will say that you send me all your observations as per our prescribed format, which we decided in our audit planning. Then I will give my opinions. In your comments, that means when you verify their works and give your reply to your engagement team, there you may prescribe. You have done analytical procedures, that means simply ratio analysis in one particular area, and you have noticed some big mistakes in that one. Now you do a bit of 50% verification on sampling basis of the actual transactions. Don't go by analytical procedures. In such a way, in between the audit also, I can change my audit plan. I can change my audit procedures. That's also possible. Yes. That's why you have to jot down all these things in your audit plan. That means you have to tell your team members that occasionally we will communicate through Teams call or WhatsApp call, and we will discuss whatever you have done. So this is also part of your audit planning only. Okay. So what is the discussion? Auditor has to keep in mind few points while preparing your audit plan. So what is the first point? Understand the engagement and scope. What formats are required? What legal requirements are there? Whether they are industry specific or there. Next, understand the reporting objectives, reporting formats, reporting points, and also decide on the communications with the management, with your team members. When you have to do, how you have to do. Okay, what is the mode of communication, whether it is to be oral, whether it is to be through email, whether it is to be through a Teams chat. Okay, so in such a way, you have to plan your audit. There are a few more points that we will, anyway, if we start, it will be in mid. Okay, that will continue in the next class. Okay, thank you.